The United States has won 14 of the 17 Olympic tourneys in which the red, white, and blue has participated. Of course, the United States boycotted the 1980 Olympics, and the two countries immediately behind them on that list no longer technically exist, the Soviet Union and Yugoslavia. So those two countries will not be gaining any ground on the U.S. Ever again. Argentina, obviously, the other one back in 2004, and it was that loss that led to Jerry Colangelo taking over this program a year later and bringing in Mike Krzyzewski, and the managing director of USA Basketball is with us here in Las Vegas. Good to have you with us once again.
Thank you.
You're a team builder. That's what you've been doing most of your career, including now with the 76ers again. So you're the guy on the end of these phone calls over the course of the summer from guys saying, I'm in, or in some cases, I'm not in. And, of course, that was a big news item over the summers.
Yes.
Who was not playing this summer?
Yes.
What's going through your head as you start to hear from the likes of LeBron James and Steph Curry, et cetera, about not being there? Does it immediately turn to, okay, well, we've got to slide this guy here, move this guy here, we need more of this, less of this?
Well, all of the above. You know, something you don't anticipate is what we had transpire this summer. And it was exacerbated by some of the conditions in Rio and the Zika virus. And,
right.
I mean, no one knew anything about that, you know, until a few months back. So anyway, it was, you have to adjust. The purpose of having a national team roster of 25 or 30 people on a roster is to take care of any potential issue that comes up, injuries, contract negotiations, personal issues, or just a decision that a player needs to rest because they're beat up during the course of a season. So I tried to switch the dialogue from who's not going to play to who is going to play, because there's a bunch of guys here who can play.
Sure.
Jerry, we talk about these guys, and you have a lot of new faces to USA Basketball. And obviously what you have done over the last 10, 11 years, along with Coach K, building a culture. How do you accelerate that for these guys in terms of learning and understanding what you guys have built over these last 10, 11 years?
Well, actually, Coach and I have talked about that, and you know, each quad has been something different, just a different thing we have to address and feel, and it's kind of exhilarating just to have to redo the whole thing again in some ways. So it's a combination of players who have had experience, you know, a couple of gold medalists, Olympic gold medalists, 4 World Cup gold medalists, some new faces, but they're all the kinds of people, character-wise, that it's going to be easy to blend. It's a matter of them spending the more time they could play together, practice, bond, all of that. We're going to be fine. We're going to be ready, and I anticipate that this is going to be a terrific team. I really believe that. And it's not about comparisons, about who could have been, what might have been. That's yesterday's news. We're concentrating on the guys who have committed themselves. They're here to represent their country. They're excited about it, and we're excited to have them.
Jerry, to just what Grant said about the culture you built, I would love for you to talk about a guy who I think has given such a commitment, Carmelo Anthony.
Absolutely.
To each quad coming back, and how important it is and how special it is to have a guy like that can lead some of these new faces.
You know, ironically, he was the first player that I visited with back in 05. And it just happened to fall that way. I was in Washington, D.C. His team he was with Denver at the time, and we had breakfast together, and that was the first player that committed almost on the spot. But it was a situation where I told him I'd watch him during the course of the year, and he called me 3 times during the course of the year. How do you think I'm doing? How do you think I'm doing? And to see him still here, still contributing, he's a real pro. He actually excels in the international game, as evidenced by his numbers in the various Olympic games. So it's great to have him here.
You know, Jerry, Smitty and I are old enough to remember in 2004, a lot of the players did not want to participate. And now you've changed that. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the select team.
Yes.
And the fact that you have, I believe, 25 young, up-and-coming potential Olympic players down the road here. But just talk about bringing these young guys in and how that's been through the years in terms of evaluating these guys and bringing them into USA basketball.
Well, it's another step. You know, many of the players here have played for us, 16, 17, 18-year-old junior teams. They've won gold medals. So they're indoctrinated. This is yet another step, the select team, and they look forward to it because they know, and as I told them and reminded them a couple of nights ago, you know, from this group will be players who are going to represent us going forward in 19 and 20 in the World Cup and in the Olympics. So it's exciting for them, but, you know, it's pretty evident to me. On one court we had men, and on the other court we had boys by comparison.
Yeah.
So that's something for them to look to and have to emulate.
You mentioned the Zika virus, and a number of not just basketball players, a lot of potential Olympians in all sports have decided just not to participate in Rio, in part because of the Zika virus. It's a legitimate concern, certainly for young men who are thinking about starting families in particular. I'm curious, what kind of conversations have you had with the players who both chose to participate and those who did not? And secondly, what kind of preparations you as a program have to make?
Matt, not one player specifically said to me Zika is
Really?
an issue. And something that I read just 2 days ago, I don't know if it's accurate, but let's assume it is, that the Zika virus is more prevalent in Florida than it is in Rio.
Right.
So if that's true, then everyone ought to leave Florida because of the virus.
That's where I live, Jerry.
I know.
But it is winter time in Brazil, and that's a factor in everyone's favor. Yeah.
But to the point, Matt, we had to educate our people. We had to gather as much information. We're in contact with all of the organizations, the World Health Organization, the USOC, USA Basketball. We've kept funneling information, and then it's a decision on the part of each individual. That's exactly how we dealt with it.
Jerry, I wanted to ask the question. I know you don't want to fast forward, but this is Coach K's last time around. Just talk about the job he's done from day one until now, and what's next for you and Coach K going forward?
Well, I'm melancholy over the whole thing because so much this time has gone by so quickly, and it seems like it was just a few days ago when we met for the first time to talk about it back in '05, and he has done an incredible job. I give him the credit for creating what we have in the way of culture. As I've said to you in the past, from that moment on, we were joined at the hip in terms of a relationship, and it's been an incredible time for me and for him. And he's going to be missed, but he's not going away, because part of my plan is to keep him alongside me as we go forward. And ironically, the guy who was the other candidate back then was Greg Popovich, who is going to be the next coach. And I made a decision early on, rather than have speculation during this Olympics, to jump the gun a little bit and name him the next coach. And I thought I was going to be retiring along with Coach K. And then Popovich threw me a curveball, and he says, I'll do it, but there's one condition. And I said, what's that? He says, you stay. If you stay, I'll do it. And I didn't have a choice.
Well, you keep taking on new jobs anyway, right? I mean,
I don't have anything else to do. So
appreciate you stopping by.
Okay, guys.
Continued good luck.
Thank you, Jerry.
Congratulations on the wild success this